So Nintendo recently gave us a look at Wave 4 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, where they revealed that we are not only getting new courses in the second half of the DLC, but new characters as well. And since it's been confirmed that more characters are going to be added in future waves, and we don't know how many characters there are going to be per wave, I've come up with 15 characters that I want to see return in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. Well, at least some of them are going to be returning, because I've divided this video into 3 main parts, which are characters returning from past console Mario Kart games, which encompasses all the games from Super Mario Kart all the way up to Mario Kart 7, characters returning from Mario Kart Tour, since that game alone has pretty much more characters than the rest of the Mario Kart series combined, and finally, some completely new characters that could be added to the game that have not appeared in any past Mario Kart titles. Each of these sections will have 5 characters, which will amount to the total of 15. And as always, this list is comprised entirely of my opinions and is not the definitive list of characters that should be added to the game whatsoever. And if you have different characters that you want to see added to the game, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. I love reading you guys' ideas. So with all that out of the way, let's roll the intro and get into the 15 characters that I want to see in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. And what better way to start off the characters returning from past console Mario Karts than the only character from the original Super Mario Kart's roster to not be represented in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Donkey Kong Jr. Ever since Mario Kart 64, DK Jr.'s spot on the roster has been replaced by Donkey Kong. And that's because, if you didn't know, DK Jr. was actually only in the original Super Mario Kart because Donkey Kong was supposed to be there. However, it was too difficult to tell it was him from a distance, because he was pretty much an entirely brown sprite. DK Jr. was then added to the game because of the fact that he wore a white tank top that mitigated this problem. Then, because there were far fewer technical limitations on the Nintendo 64 when compared to the SNES, Donkey Kong was then able to be added in the Mario Kart series' second entry, and DK Jr. has not returned since, except in Mario Kart Tour. In the Super Mario Kart Tour, DK Jr. was added to the game as a 16-bit sprite that looked identical to his in the original Super Mario Kart. And I think if DK Jr. was added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, this could be a very good character alt for him to have. If you're not familiar, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has some character alts for specific characters, where when you select them on the character select screen, you have an option of choosing their default appearance or any character alts they might have. I think DK Jr.'s default appearance should have a more modern interpretation, similar to the render I showed at the beginning of this segment. However, I do think that this 16-bit appearance from Mario Kart Tour definitely needs to return as a character alt. But then we have what I believe to be the most likely character to return in the Booster Course Pass, which is Piranha. Piranha's first appearance in Mario Kart was in Mario Kart Double Dash, which is the 4th entry in the series. His appearance is pretty much just that of a humanoid piranha plant, and I think it's one of the coolest designs in the Mario franchise. But just why do I think he's so likely to return in the Booster Course Pass? Well, that's because we recently got a brand new track added to Mario Kart Tour, Piranha Plant Cove. And this track is pretty much just a giant monument to Piranha. I mean, there are statues and engravings of him everywhere. And since it seems like most new tracks coming to Mario Kart Tour are going to be coming to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, I think it's pretty safe to assume that whatever wave this track is in, Piranha will come with it. Now, my original idea for Piranha's character alts would be to just recolor him similar to the Fire Piranha plants in Super Mario 3D World. But then I realized that's pretty much the same thing as the Fire Dino Piranha from the Super Mario Galaxy games. So I've decided to put Piranha's character alts as the Dino Piranha and Fire Dino Piranha from the Super Mario Galaxy series. Piranha is one of my most wanted characters to be added to the game, so I'm glad it's pretty likely that he will be. I'm moving on from a likely character to a slightly less likely character, though I do think that they will almost definitely appear in the DLC. We now have Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong was first introduced to the Mario Kart series in Mario Kart Double Dash, and hasn't appeared in a console Mario Kart game ever since Mario Kart Wii. This, I feel, is less of a character that fans have been absolutely clamoring for to be added to the game, and more of something that I feel should have been in the game at launch. I mean, it's kind of an odd exclusion given that there are already characters on the roster like Baby Rosalina. It just seems odd to me that we have such insignificant characters on the roster when a much more significant character was completely left out. But back to how the character would actually appear in the game. Now, finding character alts for Diddy Kong was a little bit difficult, given that his character hasn't really undergone any major changes in appearance throughout the Mario and and Donkey Kong franchises. Realistically, I feel like if he was included in the DLC, he wouldn't have any character alts. However, I decided to at least include some that I think could work. Now at first, I decided to just include his Smash ults, which are pretty much just recolors of his fur and clothing. But then I thought of the idea of what if Diddy Kong had an alternate appearance where he had his barrel jetpack, and I think that would honestly be super cool. It would obviously have no actual gameplay functionality, but it would be cool to maybe have some separate animations for tricks where his jetpack goes off. I thought it was a neat idea, however I'd still be more than happy if Nintendo just decided to include Diddy Kong's Smash ults as character ults in the game, especially because most characters in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as it is don't have character ults, so I'd still be over the moon if we got them for Diddy Kong. Since it's very likely Diddy Kong is going to appear in the Isle of the Kongs in the Mario movie, I think it makes a lot of sense for Nintendo to promote the character with putting him in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. So I'd say he's a pretty likely pick for a character. But then our next character, since they only appeared in one Mario Kart game, I honestly don't think is all that likely to appear, especially because they aren't even in Mario Kart Tour, and that character is Wiggler. Wigglers have been a staple of the Mario franchise ever since they first appeared in Super Mario World back in 1990, and yet they have only been in one Mario Kart game, which was Mario Kart 7 back on the 3DS. I feel like Wiggler was one of the perfect characters for Mario Kart as well, especially now that they have introduced character alts, because there are so many great ones that I could think of. Now the first and most obvious choice would probably be to just have the Wiggler's angry appearance from whenever it gets hit in most of the games it appears in. However, I decided against this because I think that would make for a pretty cool animation whenever it gets hit by either a shell or some other kind of offensive item. And instead, I think a much better and honestly so much cooler character ult would be the Tropical Wiggler from Super Mario Odyssey. I've always loved the design of this enemy, and I really hope it's included as an ult appearance if Wiggler does get added as part of the DLC. But then our next character you already knew would be on this list. It is by far the most wanted character by the entire Mario Kart community, Funky Kong. Funky Kong has only been in two Mario Kart games, Mario Kart Wii, where he was first introduced to the series, and in Mario Kart Tour. But because his stats were so good in Mario Kart Wii, to the point of making him the best character to play as in the game, his popularity as a character in Mario Kart has skyrocketed. Not to mention, he's a pretty cool character as it is. I mean, just look at the guy. Now that's a Funky Kong. Jokes aside, I legitimately think this is one of the characters that we will be getting in the Booster Course Pass. Nintendo has to know how popular this character is, so I think that he'll probably be added in the final wave of the DLC as a surprise at the very end of the trailer for it. But as for alternate appearances, I'm pretty much just grasping at straws here. I mean, I guess we could try removing his sunglasses. Okay, I guess let's just go into an image editing software. Oh my lord. Okay, maybe he doesn't need any alternate appearances. That is cursed. But yeah, I pretty much have no idea for what to do for Funky Kong's character alts. He has had pretty much no change in the way his character looks throughout the history of the entire Donkey Kong and Mario franchises. So if you have an idea for an alternate appearance of Funky Kong, please let me know down in the comments below. I genuinely have no idea what Nintendo could do for this. But that pretty much wraps up all the characters that I think could return from past console Mario Kart games. So now let's get into the characters that I think could be returning from Mario Kart Tour. And the first character I want to talk about is one that I'm very surprised hasn't appeared in more Mario Kart games, which is the Hammer Bro. The Hammer Bro has been a Mario enemy ever since the original Super Mario Bros. Game for the NES, and therefore is super iconic. I love pretty much everything about this character, from their design to their wacky voice to how annoying they are to deal with in the actual platforming games. And I really hope they are brought over from Mario Kart Tour to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe through the Booster Course Pass, especially because the character ults that could come with them would be so cool. There's of course your standard Hammer Bro, but then there's your Fire Bro and your Boomerang Bro. Then there's also the Ice Bro from the new Super Mario Bros. Series, as well as the Pan Bro from Super Mario Odyssey. And there's even a sort of Captain Hammer Bro with black armor that appears in Super Princess Peach for the DS. And finally, there's also the Sledge Bro and Sumo Bro. It would be so cool to have all these different kinds of character ults. And something else that would be cool that I think they could do is just just have all the different colors of armor for the Hammer Bros, similar to how they have the different colored Shy Guys, Yoshis, and Birdos, which is the route I believe Nintendo probably would go, given that they then wouldn't have to include the Sledge and Sumo Bros, as those would require an entirely new model with new animations. I really wish Mario Kart Tour did have controller support, because if it did, I would be playing the heck out of that game with all of the incredible characters that it has. One of which is another classic Mario character which originated in Super Mario 64, King Bob-omb. This character honestly has such a cool design. He's pretty much just a giant bomb with a mustache, and it's wacky stuff like that that really makes the Mario series. King Bob-omb is an inclusion that I think is somewhat likely, given that he's been appearing in multiple Mario spin-offs lately. It would also be so cool if he was included in the final wave of the DLC with a Mario 64 themed course. As of right now, King Bob-omb only has one character all in Mario Kart Tour, which is just himself plated in gold, Gold King Bob-omb. And while that is pretty cool, I think there's an even better option for a character alt. What if it looks like his original appearance from Mario 64, with the 2D sprites put together and everything? I think this would be such a cool little bit of nostalgia for Nintendo to throw into the DLC, and I really hope that if King Bob-omb does get added, they decide to add this as a character alt. But while King Bob-omb has been appearing in more spin-offs as of late, who's been appearing in even more spin-offs lately is Pauline, originally from the original Donkey Kong, and more notably from Super Mario Odyssey. Pauline is pretty much to the Switch era as Rosalina was to the Wii era. She's pretty much appearing in almost every single spin-off now. So I would not be surprised at all if Nintendo brought her over in one of the waves of DLC with the Booster Course Pass. And as for character alts, there are already plenty of different costumes Pauline has in Mario Kart Tour that Nintendo could choose from to add as the character alts. And this could be a little bit of a stretch, but to promote the Super Mario Bros. Movie, an alt costume could be added that makes Pauline look like her appearance in the movie. Heck, maybe even a modernized version of the Pauline that we see in the original Donkey Kong game, which honestly looks a little bit more like the current design of Princess Peach, could be added into the game as an alt appearance. I very much doubt this one, but it's definitely not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Something that would also be incredibly cool would be if there was a sort of New Donk Circuit type course that was added in whatever wave Pauline was added in. Now, I very much doubt this because of all the city courses that are being added from Mario Kart Tour through the Booster Course Pass. However, I definitely think this is a course that we are going to be getting in the next mainline Mario Kart. And speaking of, if you want to hear more ideas of mine about future Mario Kart courses, make sure to subscribe so then you get notified about videos like this where I mention them. But now let's get into our next character, who is actually supposed to be included in the Mario Kart series all the way back in Mario Kart 64 and again in the original Mario Kart 8. However, they didn't make their actual first appearance in the series until Mario Kart Tour. And that character, of course, is Kamek. Kamek is well known as the head Magikoopa in the Mario series, and Bowser's right-hand man. So it made perfect sense back in 1996 for him to be included in Mario Kart 64. There was even a promotional image released before the game came out that had him on the character roster. So clearly he was meant to be included in the game pretty far into development. In fact, he was the original replacement for DK Jr. before Donkey Kong ultimately took the spot. Then in 2012, it was Kamek's time to shine again, as he was going to be included in Mario Kart 8, the first ever HD Mario Kart. And we know this because a cart emblem for him is actually found in the files of the original Mario Kart 8. Yet, once again, he was scrapped, though we don't know who replaced him this time. But then, finally, in August 2021, Kamek was made playable in Mario Kart Tour. And now, hopefully, he'll be brought over to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And he has some potential for some really cool character alts. Now, of course, there could just be recolors of his cloak, similar to, once again, the different colored Yoshi's, Birdos, Shy Guys, and possibly now Hammer Bros. There are actually some different characters that have appeared throughout the Mario series to take a very similar role and design as Kamek that I think could work great as character alts. And the first of these is Kamela from Super Mario Galaxy. Now, Kamek was a character that appeared in Super Mario Galaxy. However, there was still a very powerful Magikoopa that appeared as a boss in the form of Kamela. And since she has a very similar design to that of Kamek, Kamek, I think she would work great as a character alt for the character. The same can be said for Kammy Koopa, who essentially replaced Kamek in the original Paper Mario. This character has never actually been fully realized in 3D, and has been confined to the Paper Mario aesthetic of just being a 2D sprite. So I think it would be incredibly cool to see a full 3D version of this character as a character alt for Kamek. Even if there are no character alts, however, I really just want Kamek to appear as a character added into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe through the Booster Course Pass, especially because he was robbed of his opportunity to be in the game in the original Mario Kart 8. But then moving on to our final character from Mario Kart Tour, we have Charging Chuck. Although Charging Chuck originally appeared in Super Mario World back in 1990, they really hit the spotlight as one of the main Mario enemies when they appeared in Super Mario 3D World back in 2013, and then Super Mario Odyssey in 2017. And overall, I think they're a pretty solid character. In terms of character alts, I feel like their default appearance should just be with their helmet on, and then they should have a character alt with their helmet removed, similar to once you step on them once in the Mario games. It would also be cool if there was a recolor of them which had the original color scheme that they had back in Super Mario World. I'd honestly be really happy if this character returned in the Booster Course Pass. I really just want this character to be brought more and more into the spotlight as much as possible, because that brings us closer and closer to the mere possibility of a Mario football game. Now, I personally don't really like football games all that much. However, I think a Mario football game could be one of the greatest Mario Sports titles that Nintendo has ever made if they execute it correctly. So I just really want Chargin' Chuck, which is a football player character, to be brought into the spotlight as much as possible in order to get fans asking Nintendo for this more and more. Now, with that little side rant out of the way, those are all the characters that I want Nintendo to bring over from Mario Kart Tour to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which now leaves us with the final 5 characters of this video, the brand new ones. And the first character I'd like to talk about is one that's almost definitely going to be included in Mario Kart at some point in the future, whether it be in the Booster Course Pass or in the next mainline entry in the series. It is Boom Boom. Boom Boom was originally a mini-boss in Super Mario Bros. 3. However, he did reappear in Super Mario 3D Land, and more importantly, in Super Mario 3D World to modernize his character, and since then he's been appearing in multiple different spin-offs of the Mario franchise. And I honestly just think the character works really well in Mario Kart. I mean, we already have all the Koopalings in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus Bowser Jr., it just makes sense to then add Boom Boom as well. For alternate appearances, I feel like it could be cool to see him wearing a Mario Strikers jersey, as he was the goalie in Mario Strikers Battle League, which was the most recent entry in the series. However, the most obvious character alt to have for Boom Boom is, of course, Pom Pom. That is, if she doesn't get her own character. Ever since Super Mario 3D Land, the two have pretty much been a pair of characters, and in pretty much every single game where you see one, you'll find the other, with of course a few exceptions. Boom Boom with a character alt of Pom Pom I think would just be a great idea to have as characters in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And they're some of my most wanted characters to be added in the Booster Course Pass. It just really makes sense to me that they should be in the game. But then our next character is a much more recent addition to the Mario franchise, which is Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey. Now, the nature of this character, in my opinion, makes it somewhat unlikely that we're going to see it as a character in the Mario Kart franchise, specifically because I think Cappy could make for a pretty great item, which allows you to take control of someone else's cart for a brief period of time. Though that doesn't mean I don't want him to appear as a playable character. In fact, I would absolutely love to see him added to the game. His default appearance would probably be how you first find him in Super Mario Odyssey, before he actually transforms into your Mario hat. Yet there are still so many options for character alts as well. All of the different hats you could get in Super Mario Odyssey are potentially able to be used as character alts for Cappy, though I would be somewhat worried about how they could be implemented, given that in any of those forms, Cappy doesn't have hands, so he couldn't actually grasp the steering wheel. Still, I'm sure the devs could be able to get around this, possibly by even having Cappy capture the car that you're driving, which in my opinion would be super cool. And once again, I think this could be probably in the next mainline Mario Kart rather than in the Booster Course Pass, but I think a Cap Kingdom themed stage could work great as a Mario Kart course, and that would go along perfectly with Cappy as a playable character. But while Cappy was somewhat of a new addition to the Mario cast, our next character is one that's gone back all the way to the original Super Mario Bros, and I'm honestly shocked that they haven't appeared in Mario Kart yet, which is the Goomba. The Goomba is the staple enemy of the Mario series. If you think of Mario, the first enemy you think of after Bowser is the Goomba. And somehow they have not appeared in any Mario Kart games yet, except as a stage hazard. I understand the Goomba doesn't have arms and therefore wouldn't be able to grab the steering wheel. However, once again, I think the Nintendo developers could definitely get around this. It would be so cool to just see a Goomba driving around in a cart by holding the steering wheel with its mouth. And because of all the different variants of Goombas there have been over the years, the possibilities for character alts are nearly limitless. Though my personal favorites would have to be the Cat Goomba, the Octoomba, the Paragoomba, the Galoomba, and Goombet. I feel like the Goomba just needs to be added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The fact that we're in the territory of adding side characters to a lot of these games, and yet one of the core Mario enemies is yet to be added, is just absolutely insane to me. And whether it be added in the Booster Course Pass or in a future Mario Kart game, I think the Goomba just needs to be added to the Mario Kart franchise in some way or another as a playable character. And while Mario Kart definitely has its fair share of playable enemies, I think some playable NPCs could be cool to have as well. And my personal favorites are the Toasterinans from Super Mario Odyssey. Even though they've only appeared in one Mario game, they've become some of the most iconic Mario NPCs. And I think they'd fit in perfectly in Mario Kart. I feel like I'm beginning to sound like a broken record now, but a Toasterina course would be absolutely insane to have in either the Booster Course Pass or in the next Mario Kart game. Maybe at this point, Nintendo just needs to make a Super Mario Kart Odyssey. But back to the Toasterians, I think they also have a lot of potential for different character alts, because the different face paints they have in Super Mario Odyssey, as well as the different shapes of their skulls, could be used as different character alts. Overall, I just really think the Toasterinans' liveliness would be a great addition to the Mario Kart franchise, and I'd love to see them be added in either the Booster Course Pass or a future Mario Kart installment. But then, the 15th and final character of this video is for you all to decide. That's right, I'm actually going to let you all decide what you think the last character of this video should be in the comments below. Do you think it should be Spike? Do you think it should be Egad? Do you think it should be a Bullet Bill? I mean, the Bullet Bill has hands, so it can technically drive a cart. Imagine playing as a Bullet Bill and then getting a Bullet Bill item and then using the Bullet Bill item as the Bullet Bill to turn into a Bullet Bill as a Bullet Bill. I have no idea where I was going with this sentence, but that sounds really cool. To be honest, these three were my last three ideas for the new characters, and I didn't really want to pick between them, so I decided to clump them all into one character spot and tell you all to decide in the comments. And if there are more returning characters that you want to see added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, make sure to let me know down in the comments below as well. I'm currently coming off of a cold, and my voice hasn't fully recovered, so if I sound a little bit hoarse throughout different portions of this video, that's why. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, regardless of that. And if you liked the video, make sure to press the like button. If you got this far, you probably did like it. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe so you get notified whenever I upload more videos. With all that out of the way, thank you all for watching. I'm Jacob with the Game Block, signing off.